Here we are moving down the freeway from Sparks. You're starting to see some of the fire coming in right now. It's burned off the hills all the way from Vista. Now we're coming around the corner here to close to where the apple is on the left. Here we are. Now you're starting to see some fire on the left, and there's many places where it's jumped over the freeway. In fact, there are some signs further on down the road where it's burned up signs, and especially the new vinyl signs. The plastic ones are burned up plastic. The power company and the phone company, the crews are out here. It's about 100 degrees now. It's afternoon, and they're out there restoring lines. So there was really quite a bit of damage, even though it was a brush fire. Over on the right, you can see the chalk bluffs. That was a prominent landmark for the pioneers. This is where the highway goes from concrete to asphalt. Yeah, you see the signs on the left there. Coming in the other way, it was easier to see that they were toast. This is my first GoPro video, so bear with me. But there we are on the asphalt now. I've been traveling this road for many years, since, well, actually as a driver, I guess about 1961, someplace in there, maybe 62. Well over 50 years as a freeway. And I remember it in the 50s coming from Las Vegas to Reno, my dad driving, and I was a little kid sitting in the back. It was a two-laner. It was called Highway 40 then. And it went up and down and around the hills. We're heading east towards Fernley. Here's the overlook right at Tracy Power Station. Now you can start to see the burning on the left in the Para Range. That's the Para Range that runs along all the way to Pyramid Lake. And that was just a mess. It was just for days. That whole mountain that you see is dark, burned out. I was out here last week. I was watching a couple of air tankers in the near dark bombing the fire. And it looked kind of risky to me. They were making their runs over the mountains and then coming down and turning out over the freeway. I was over at Redding several years ago at an airport, and I was talking to a pilot of one of these bombers, and I said, "Wow, that must be scary, flying down burning canyons." He says, "Oh no, what I really hate about the job is doing the paperwork afterward." Over on the right is the pet food plant, and then you can start to see Apple now on the left. Looked like they had like a fire line or something up there that went around it, but it came awfully close. They must have had some kind of a plan for protecting that data center. On the mountains on the right side of the highway are the Virginia Range. And what we're driving down right now is called, it's actually the Oldinghouse Fault. The reason there's a river here is because there's a huge fault that goes the whole length. Geologists say the Truckee River has been here about 12 million years, and it's actually older than the Grand Canyon, which is a newcomer at 5 or 6 million years. So it's not a very impressive river, certainly compared to the Colorado and the Grand Canyon, but it's a far older. And some historians say that actually it was one of the most important rivers, that and the Humboldt, that got people across the Nevada in the immigrant days from the 1830s to the 1870s when the railroad built. They were there in 1869. The Central Pacific Railroad built here. There's Tracy Clark on the right, and starting to see some more burning on the left. The mountains coming down, the Para Range coming down. Kind of goes in between. There's the Virginia Ranges, that light on the right side. I notice a lot of the power, even those big power lines, they've been up and down the mountain there. I suppose there was inspection or damage or who knows, to the towers, or even though the wires are, who knows, 80 feet off the ground, 100 feet. We're now kind of approaching USA Parkway. I have learned through experience you have to be careful right here. The traffic will rocket out of both on-ramps, but especially the one on the right. You have to be careful of burning on the left. So where this white truck is, I'm going to pull up behind. I always get in this left lane and get away from those ramps. There's been a few times when it scared the bejeebers out of us because somebody's driving 85, 90 miles an hour down the ramp. Like a little car, a low car, and boom, they're right next to you. And this is a bad ramp. In fact, I was on the Facebook page of the Nevada Department of Highways, and they said that yes, they know it's a bad ramp, and they're going to do some improvements or upgrades on it to make it a little safer. It's just not up to par, especially now when they get all this Tesla traffic, and when they get developed, and of course it's just going to be a mess. So again, I say be careful when you're going through that USA Parkway. Get over in the fast lane, even if you've got to go fast to do it. You can see burning on the left side of the mountain here. Now we're coming around this great big bend that actually turns to the almost to the west. It's almost to the north. Correction. It's almost north-south if you have a compass at this point. Quite a bit of fire jumping and burning down here. It's come down to the freeways and places here too. Though I didn't notice where it jumped over the freeway. Now I believe we're coming up on, that big dark structure over to the right that we go by is a huge Miocene volcanic intrusion. The river used to go bend to the left, and it was like a big oxbow right there. I forget the name of the feature. It does have a name. Down where those green trees are. Big oxbow from the river, but that's been since diverted. It's sort of like a slough down there in the river. They rerouted it on the right, I suppose, when they put in the freeway. But the Central Pacific Railroad you can drive on the grade right down there next to that red hill on the left. Now we're coming around another nearly 90 degrees to the area of Derby Dam, where they diverted the Truckee River and sent it over to Lahontan and drained Lake Winnemucca and lowered Pyramid Lake by 50, 80 feet. depending on who you read. And then the canal starts climbing on the hillside on the right and goes through Fernley. This cop is following an RV. It looks like the tires are just shredded, and the cop's it's moving, but the cop was just sort of protecting its back. See a lot of trailer tires and bearing problems. People just park a trailer for a year, then they go out roaring down the freeway. They're doing 80 miles an hour many times in a darn trailer. For somebody of my generation, that's pretty foreign. A lot of skid marks in this area. There were uranium mines back in the 50s on the left during the uranium boom. Nothing big, but there was uranium located and some mining done. During the atomic testing era, they were looking for uranium every place. All over. It was a huge boom. And so there were a lot of small sites found in Nevada, but nothing much really developed. It was mostly over in Utah that uranium was extensively mined. Now we're starting to see the mountains right strictly direct ahead. Those volcanic plugs going up. That's basically the end of the Virginia range. And we've even driven up to those volcanic plugs. Those trucks are probably doing 80 miles an hour just past me. I'm doing 70 something. And right on the other side of that horizon of broken mountain ridge is Fernley. When you drive up there, you can see Fernley very clearly, and the whole valley all the way to Fallon. Yeah, we've been in all the hill. We've even actually been next to the freeway up in a lot of those hills you can throw a rock at up there, exploring this area. Now we're coming into the Painted Rock area. There's a sign. I wonder how many times I've driven this. It's got to be in the thousands. Basically, I don't know what. 55 years of driving it, something like that. The old highway we've driven on is up on the left. It goes up and over there's still quite a few remnants in this area you can drive up on. It's kind of fun to look at the old Highway 40, the narrowness and wow, it must have taken 3 times as long to drive through there. Can you imagine following trucks? Now you're starting to see some fire damage on the brush there, right ahead on that Painted Rock cut. The fire was up there.